Torres, and welcome to 90 Day Felon. So today's discussion is about your first day out of prison. What do you do? What's the first thing you do? Now, to be fair, I want to keep reiterating this. These podcasts are going to kind of flip back and forth. You know, I'm going to cater to the inmate that has nobody out there to help him when he gets out. You know? So you're going to hear that my discussions tend to sway that way. But as we get further on in, I will kind of flip it a little bit and really focus on the families and the loved ones that are out here in the free world and what to expect and the hurdles that I have been through multiple times and all the things I fucked up, you know, with trying to help my loved one become successful. So you're all going to learn from my mistakes too, okay? So there's no judgment here. But for today's topic, it is, you know, first day out of prison, and, you know, I get it. For those that have loved ones, it's probably a day of celebration. Everybody's happy, you're home. We're going to take you out to get your favorite meal that you haven't had in buku years. But I want to stay away from the festive tone, only because, let's face it, you know, many of the crimes committed do have victims. So out of respect for them, I would rather keep this on a more instructional conversation. Okay, so we're not gonna get into right now about, you know, the celebratory part of this, because I will address that eventually, because I have been there. Oh yeah. All right. So again, everything I speak about is not because I have some big fancy college degree or anything. It comes from years of experience and being the only official title I hold, which is a professional prison wife. It just comes from dealing with them. And also the people that I employ. So I'm going to go back a little bit to the premiere episode of this podcast series, where I talked about the 4 things that you really do have to focus on, or really should focus on and start to think about before you get out. The first one, remember, was money. Okay, so let's just make this episode about money. So most inmates, when they get out, they're given what is called gate money, a little stipend. Some get a lot, some don't get hardly anything. You know, back in February, I took in an inmate, a newly released inmate from the Department of Corrections of Wyoming. That was a first for me. And Wyoming doesn't have a huge prison issue. I think there's only, what did they tell me, one prison in the whole state of Wyoming. And so I think probably, I don't know what their budget is like, but they probably don't quite have it as bad as, let's say, California, where there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of inmates. So this particular inmate had done 22 years in prison. So, you know, we were like ready for it. We're like, wow, this is going to be difficult. But anyways, he gets out, and I'm not going to get into his story right now, but he has a big wad of money. I mean, I see it in his hand, this big wad of money. And I'm like, wow, like they do you up there in Wyoming. They also bought him a cell phone. He didn't even have to pay for his own cell phone. That was amazing. They got all his ID ready for him. He had everything. Like, he was ready to hit the road and just start doing good. So his second day out, I had my office manager take him to Walmart to get him some, clothing and essentials, food, and I put him under my roof. So he was living in under my roof, going to work for me. So my office manager texts me from Walmart, and she goes, "Hey, I'm having a little issue here." He wants to spend like $300 on like a gold chain, like a necklace, and I'm like, no, like what? And then, she got him off the necklace, and he wanted to get a watch, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, I get it. You're excited. I can't wait to blow your money. I was going to say something else, but it was another word for money, but it was going to sound really inappropriate, so we won't go there. But anyways, you want to blow your money. It's exciting. You haven't been able to shop in years. I want you to equate being that inmate who's getting out. You have no one. You are on your own. So I want you to equate your first day out as basically an episode of Naked and Afraid. Okay? I don't know if you've ever watched it, but what they do is they take two people and they dump them out into like a jungle or the woods or the desert. I mean, they're naked, but anyways, and they tell them, boom, survive for 30 days. So pretend you're now out of prison and you've been dumped in the jungle, the desert, the middle of the Serengeti. The first thing you need to do is think about surviving with needing shelter and food. That's the first thing that needs to be on your mind. If you don't have a loved one to fall back on or family, shelter and food. Okay? So going back to that list of things I told you to think about while you were still in prison, if you remember, start looking up homeless shelters in the area you're being released to. This is where that's going to come into handy, because homeless shelters do serve free meals. So that's one less thing you're going to have to spend that money on, at least for a short amount of time. You need to hold on to that money for as long as you possibly can, until you get your bearings, until you figure out the plan. In talking to my ex-husband number 3, Tony, who I do my 25 to Wife podcast with, he told me that where he's at, they give you $70 at the gate. Now here's the thing, guys. I'm on the fence about this, because it's really not the prison's responsibility to give you an allowance. Most of you are in prison because you messed up, okay? So why is it anybody's responsibility to give you some money? And this is what I tell my ex. This is what I tell Tony. Like when he's crying about it, I said, it ain't my problem. It ain't anybody's problem. It's your problem. But we'll just roll with it, okay? So can you imagine being thrown out of prison, like someone like Tony, who by the time he gets out will have done 34 years straight, and they're giving him $70. What do you do with that? Like, what the hell do you do with that? So his chances of survival are slim to none. Not even slim, none to none. Okay? So, thankfully, I'm going to help him when he gets out. But just think about it for a second. $70, and you're supposed to what? I don't even think you can buy a flip phone for that. So, you got to hold on to that gate money for as long as you can. You got to hit up that homeless shelter or that church and find your source of food. Get that situated first. If you have absolutely nowhere else to go, nobody else to fall back on, they get you on a Greyhound. Where do you want to go? Boom, dump you off at the destination you want, and you've got to find that homeless shelter or that church where they serve food. You need food and shelter first and foremost. And I can't reiterate that enough. Even if it means you hanging out around those locations. Don't blow it on a hotel room. Okay? I mean, think about it. With the amount of money they give you, what is it, 1 or 2 nights in a hotel? That's it, you're done? Because on the next podcast, we're going to talk about the one thing that you do need to buy. Essential for your survival. Okay? So, again, these things are, I'm going to keep repeating myself. I sound like a broken record. Based on my decades of experience. Decades. And again, for those of you that are fortunate enough to have a family or, a significant other, a friend to help you when you get out, you know what? Consider yourself really, really fortunate. So that's my big wise words of wisdom for your first day out. First day out. Don't spend your money. You need to basically become like Tarzan, okay, in the jungle. You've got to survive. You need to find shelter and food. I'm going to keep repeating myself. Shelter and food. Shelter and food. Well, only 89 more days to go. Think you'll make it? I sure hope so. We'll be here for you.